Do you ever find yourself thinking, how much should I actually be telling them? You don't want to overshare, but you also don't want to miss something important. And before you know it, you're second guessing everything you say and everything you don't say. That's totally normal. Most parents swing between saying too little out of fear or saying everything just to get it over with. But here's the good news. When you match the message to your child's age and stage, it all feels simpler. So in this episode, I'm going to walk you through what your tween actually needs to know right now, how to tell what's relevant and what's maybe a bit too much too soon, and how to explain it in a way that doesn't sound like a biology lecture. I've been helping families navigate these conversations for over 2 decades. And once you understand what's developmentally appropriate, you'll see that sex ed doesn't have to feel overwhelming. It can actually feel natural because when we say too little, our kids fill the gaps out themselves. And look, let's be honest. Friends, the internet, group chats, they're not always the safest teachers for kids. So stick around because at the end of this episode, I'm going to give you a 1-minute challenge that will help you figure out exactly what your child needs to hear today based on where they might be at right now. What if talking to your tween about sex didn't make you want to run for the hills? On Sex Ed for Tween Parents, we ditch the awkward and keep it real with chats that actually work. I'm Cath Hakanson, sex educator, mum, and your guide to handling all the tricky stuff without cringing or making it weird. Let's get into it. Here's a question I get all the time from parents, but what am I actually supposed to say? Because tweens, they're all over the place. One 11-year-old asking about crushes, and another thinks sex is gross and still builds Lego forts. Some kids are super curious. Others don't want to hear a thing about bodies. But no matter where you are, your child's on the spectrum and you still need to start somewhere. So let's break it down. So you're not behind, but you do need to start. Even if your child isn't showing interest in sex or puberty yet, the changes are still on their way. And one of the kindest things you can do is to help them be prepared so they're not blindsided by what's going to happen. Their body and brain are gearing up for big changes. And even if they're not talking about it, chances are their classmates are. And that means now is the perfect time to gently get them ready. Now, some information is about readiness, some is about safety. And it's true, some topics can't wait, or they can wait, but others, you need to be talking about them. So even if your child isn't asking, they still need to be prepared for what they might see or hear. So take porn, for example. You don't need to explain every detail, but you do need to say something like, there's stuff online that's made for adults. It's not real and it can be confusing. If you ever see anything like that, come and talk to me. So these conversations are about preparing, not pressuring kids, and you can do it in a way that's calm, simple, and age appropriate. So what about topics like contraception or intercourse, topics that feel like way too much? Let's talk about how to know what's relevant. So relevance is your secret weapon, and here's where things get easier. If your child's already asking questions, has crushes, or is showing an interest in dating, you might start introducing ideas like pregnancy and contraception. No big lectures, it's just about letting them know the basics. So, for example, you might say, there are things people can use to stop a pregnancy from happening. They're called contraception. And that's it. You don't need to go into the nitty-gritty of the different types and the side effects and the costs and all that sort of stuff. At this age, it's just a little bit of information to satisfy their curiosity or information that's relevant for where they are. And if they're curious and are wanting to know more, you can build the conversations on from there as well. But if your child thinks dating's gross and still laughs whenever they hear the word penis, you just plant the seed. So, for example, you might say, pregnancy can be prevented with something called contraception. And that's it. So you don't have to say anything more unless they're curious. And you're not hiding anything. You're just matching the message to their maturity. Because even if they're not into it, their friends might be. and they're going to hear about it anyway. Now, you can pause, but keep the door open. So sometimes it's okay to hold back. If your child's anxious, overwhelmed, or just not ready, especially if they're neurodivergent, you can press pause. And that doesn't mean that you're avoiding the topic entirely. It just means you're saying, I'll tell you a bit now and we can talk more later if you want. The key difference is that you're still mentioning it and you're still keeping that door open. Because when we say nothing, kids fill in the blanks themselves, and those blanks are often filled with half-truths, myths, or scary stuff from other kids. Plus, they get the unspoken message that the topic's unspeakable because we're not talking about it. So how do you know what to say right now? And that's where your 1 minute challenge comes in. But first, I want to share a tool that's going to help you. So now you know that sex ed doesn't have to be an all or nothing talk. It's about small, bite-sized conversations that meet your child where they are. But if you're still thinking, what do I actually say? How do I bring it up without the eye rolls or the awkwardness? That's where my free guide comes in, 5 cringe-free strategies to naturally start sex ed conversations. And inside you'll find 5 super simple conversation starters, phrases that sound natural and appropriate, and ideas that you can use tonight with no prep required. Because if you delay, you overthink and the pressure builds up and your child ends up getting information from someone or somewhere else. But when you take that first small step, you're showing them that the topic's safe, that you're safe, and that they don't need to figure it out all on their own. So head to cringe-free-strategies.com to get your copy of that guide, or just click the link in the show notes. And try one of the strategies tonight and see what opens up. Now, here's your 1 minute challenge. Choose one thing you want your child to understand about sex, bodies, or growing up. Just one. It could be your body will start changing soon, and that's completely normal. Or if you ever see something online that confuses you, you can always ask me. Or I want you to know you can talk to me about anything, even if it feels awkward. You don't need to say it perfectly, you just need to start, because one clear idea is often all it takes to open the door and to show your child that you're here for them no matter what. Thanks for being here with me on Sex Ed for Tween Parents. By showing up, you're already making things better for your child and for yourself. And if this episode helped, I'd be so grateful if you'd leave a review. Helps other parents find the podcast and know they're not alone. And don't forget to grab your free guide, 5 cringe-free strategies, at cringe-free-strategies.com or in the show notes. You've got this, and I'll see you in the next episode.